Hello folks, it's a pretty cloudy day here, not too hot, a bit humid, but it's probably like 70 right now, maybe 75. It's actually pretty cool out right now, and I just wanted to make a video on the best palms to plant in a colder climate. And what I mean by colder climate is most of these palms will only survive in zone 6 or 7 and above unprotected. Zone 5 is going to be really pushing it, and several of these species just won't really grow there. But I'm just going to show you the best palms to plant for a colder climate, which obviously I'm in. This is zone 7A, 7B, probably more like a solid 7B, but colder certainly. Yeah, it's that's why I've got them planted here. I've really got all the hardiest palms pretty much planted here. I don't have Nanoropsis ricciana, but that's hardier in a dry climate. But these are sort of more wet climate palms, although they're super hardy in a dry climate as well. So we're going to start obviously with the king of hardiness. And I should mention beforehand, by the way, I'm actually going to LA this weekend. I have a long weekend, 4-day weekend. And I'm going to the LA area I'm part of an allergy clinic out there. You guys may know of. Or may have heard about. It's a food allergy clinic. You may have heard that I'm part of it. And I go out there, every couple of months. It's awesome, and it's a really great clinic. And we have a 4-day weekend this weekend, so we're gonna be there for a couple of days. It's gonna be awesome, and obviously I'll be making tons of videos while I'm out there. There's a couple things that I really want to see, which I won't mention yet, because I don't want to disappoint anyone if I don't see them. But there's a couple of palmy locations I have in my mind. I'll say that. So stay tuned for that, and I definitely will be going to some of them that I'm thinking of, and I'm trying to go to a lot of the places that I'm interested in. Just be ready for that, and maybe I'll anticipate it for that. Yeah, we'll see. Anyways, sort of going in the theme with sort of, I guess, ironically going in the theme of colder climates, my trip to LA, but it's actually, believe it or not, on Tuesday, which is the day after I leave. It's going to be 48 as the low in LA. It's like 51 as the low on Saturday and Sunday. And mind you, it gets up to like 78 every one of those days. Sometimes it gets up to like over 80. But it's going to be 48 as the low on Tuesday, and this is just early fall. So those who think that LA always has warm weather, definitely not always as warm as you think, and that's why people have a real challenge growing palms like Stachys Renda, which can start tanking below 50. So that's why it's an extreme challenge to grow in Southern California. Some would say impossible. And same with coconuts; it's also pretty difficult. But yeah, it can. You'll have lows in the low 50s in summer sometimes, so it definitely gets cool there. Anyways, that's enough of that. I just wanted to get on to the video. I'm sure you guys, if you're interested, this is sort of a tutorial and a demonstration of palms that you guys might want to plant. And I'm going to start with the king of cold hardy palms, which I think, quite honestly, is one of the most underrated palms. Maybe you could say it's not the most attractive palm. I think it's a really beautiful palm, but it has that classic palm tree look, classic, incredibly exotic looking fronds, and it can survive. I've heard it into zone 5B. It becomes reliably hardy around somewhere in zone 6. You'll see big ones in New York City, the Cincinnati area. They're super duper tough palms. They don't get enough respect amongst the plant community. Amongst hardy palm growers, definitely they do get respect, but amongst the plant community in general, they're the most common palm here, but they're not planted nearly enough. And I wish they were planted more, but you'll see some huge specimens around town if you know where to look. And this is the needle palm, Rhipidophyllum hystrix. This palm is native to the subtropical southeast, southernmost South Carolina, through a good portion of Georgia, actually, into northern and central Florida, and then across to Alabama, and I don't believe it goes into Mississippi, but basically the subtropical southeast, and native to a lot of swampy areas. You'll see it growing on hillsides sometimes. There's a couple of hillsides that you'll see it growing on. It's a super cool palm, and as is evidenced by its hardiness, its range was probably once much larger. It's just got what I think happened is that, and I should probably be making a video just on this, is that the needle palm, obviously its range is once much larger, and it probably went into Maryland at some point. And I think what happened is the needle palm range got depleted in the last ice age or some previous ice age, And the Sable Miner also was once in Maryland and probably further north, as was evidenced actually pretty recently in the past several thousand years. And I think the Sable Miner was just able to reclaim its range much faster than Rhipidophyllum hystrix. So that's just what I think. Let me know what you guys think. But really fascinating how Sable Miner is native much further north than Rhipidophyllum hystrix, and to much colder areas. And yet it's actually slightly less hardy. Depends on the ecotype. But that brings me obviously to my next palm, which I just mentioned, Sable Miner, the dwarf palmetto. Very distinct. I'm going to sort of get it shot here. Very distinct, in coloration. You see that clear grayish blue tinge to the fronds, and this is just pure green. I mean, you can see the difference there is very clear even at a distance. And a beautiful palm, one of my favorites. And this is hardy probably reliably to negative 10, 15 Fahrenheit. There are records of it surviving colder, but reliably probably negative 10 for very short periods of time. This is probably reliably hardy to around 0 Fahrenheit. Some ecotypes are hardier, but again, that's for very short periods of time. But it is extremely hardy, and you'll see mature specimens in New York, some in Cincinnati, as I mentioned. These are just sort of northern markers of where you'll see a couple of them. And they are bulletproof in New York, and almost in Cincinnati, basically bulletproof in Cincinnati. So super awesome palm, 100% bulletproof here. Second most common palm in the DC area, and you'll see some nice ones around town. And I've collected seed from another of them around town. And that's where all my seedlings came from, the one at the Arboretum. And super awesome palm, and definitely worth trying. Really in any climate zone. I'd say it's actually more adaptable to dry climates, and to because some of the sable species like Sable uricana are actually native to desert ecosystems. Even like the tropical and subtropical sables seem to be more drought tolerant than the needle palm. So definitely worth planting in warmer climates too. But I mean, if you're in a colder climate, it's worth its own push, and it's also easy to protect because it is slow growing and stays pretty small for most of its life. So here's another fine specimen, slightly smaller, but you can see it hasn't quite put out that mature frond yet, but doing really well, and they just love it here. They, it's obviously, they love the humidity here, and it's actually a pretty great climate for them. And then lastly, but certainly not least, is the Trachycarpus genus. So often you'll hear needle palm, Sable Miner, Windmill Palm are the three hardiest, but you gotta be careful when saying Windmill Palm, because Windmill Palm is Trachycarpus fortunei, this species right here, and mine is doing well. This one made it through last winter. I planted it like mid-December, so it had 0 time to adjust, and my other one had spear pull, and what happened with that was unfortunate, but this one didn't even have spear pull. It just kept on growing, a little bit of damage to the fronds, but no time to adjust. I think it was pretty amazing that it made it through with really no problems at all through last winter. But anyways, about that, the Windmill Palm is this species Trachycarpus fortunei, but there are actually what are believed to be slightly hardier Trachycarpus species, and one of which, maybe the only one of which, is Trachycarpus takeheel, and this is believed to be the true hardiest trunking palm. People say the Windmill Palm is the hardiest trunking palm. Sable Miner and the dwarf palmetto and the needle palm do develop small trunks, but they're not like arborescent palm trees, quote unquote trees, like the Windmill Palm is. But this is believed to be slightly hardier. It's recorded as hardy to around -3 Fahrenheit, or not -3 Fahrenheit, I believe around 3 Fahrenheit, or around 0 Fahrenheit, I think. Probably more reliably hardy to around 10, although there are records of them surviving far colder. And same with the Windmill Palm. This thing survived negative temperatures in the Texas freeze, which is just insane. It survived like -5 and crazy cold temperatures. Even below in some areas, and so even Washingtonia survived -5 in some areas. It's really unbelievable. And then this one's probably a bit hardier than that. It's just not nearly as common. It's incredibly rare. I mean, not nearly as common. It's a vast understatement. This is the only one I know of in the DC area, and I know of more than a dozen Trachycarpus fortunei in the DC area. This is the only takeheel I know of. They're incredibly rare, and but they are slightly hardier. So that'll be interesting to put to the test and see how it does. Obviously, it's a bigger specimen, so it has a better chance, anyways. But yeah, this is so any of the Trachycarpus genus are great. There are some less hardy. The Trachycarpus nanus, I believe, is slightly less hardy. Some of the species aren't quite as hardy, but any of them are pretty comparable in hardiness. Some variation, but there's like Manipur, Martianus. I don't have any of these those species, but there's a number of rarer ones. like take heel is very rare. And this is Wagnerianus, the dwarf windmill palm. I've heard varying reports that it's hardier, slightly less hardy than the windmill palm, but I've seen it marked in one of my palm books as equal hardiness. So I'm just going to put them as equal, pretty comparable. Although they are slightly less common, and there's only one or two mature ones that I actually know of in the area, which I will be making a video of once when I can actually access them. But yeah, just super cool. And yeah, so try a Trachycarpus specimen if you want like an actual palm tree trunking palm look. Again, it really depends on your preference and on your climate. Needle palm and dwarf palmetto are hardier, but windmill palms, the Trachycarpus genus, are actually trunking, so it's sort of a trade-off, because these have like underground protected trunks, so they're able to, you know, be a little hardier than the above ground exposed trunks of the windmill palm, although they are covered in these fibers, which helps keep them warm. So it's just super cool self-insulating palms. And yeah, they're super hardy. They're take heel. If I were to say that any windmill palm, any Trachycarpus species, I mean, is bulletproof here, it would have to be take heel. I'm not sure if it's exactly bulletproof here, but it definitely comes the closest from the records that I've seen of its actual hardiness. It hasn't even been through winter here. This one I planted in March. Same with these other two palms, by the way. This is the only one that was actually here last winter. But it'll be interesting test in a bad winter, because obviously I'm gonna put like mulch and leaves around them, but it'll be an interesting test. And yeah, I mean, these are marginal here. They're not, you know, a bad winter can badly damage or kill them, and they have, but some have survived the worst recorded winters here, either unscathed or just have come out of them with a bit of damage. So they're very marginal here. Microclimates make all the difference. I'm in a slightly colder area just north of the city, more shifting towards the lower end of maybe zone 7 than the area by the water, which has the, you know, heat island and lower elevation and all that. But it is up against this fence here. Actually, that's a south facing fence over there, but this is still a pretty protected area, and that definitely helps in the winter. But yeah, try Trachycarpus palm if you're in. I've seen people try them, you know, in zone 5 with protection. And yeah, just a great palm to try. And I would definitely recommend trying any of those. If you guys have any questions, I'm always more than happy to answer them. I always love hearing from anyone. You know, if you have any questions, if you just want to comment, say hi, say what you think of the palms, say if you're trying them or if you have tried them and your successes or what's happened with them. Yeah, please let me know. I always love to hear from you guys. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more videos. These are the best palms for a colder climate. All right, take care, folks. Have a good one.